Hi and welcome to Fantastic Ideas. In this video we're going to discuss to see if LPG is worth it. As you can see, I am driving somewhere. We're going to find out where I'm going shortly. So let's discuss LPG. Now my van does run on LPG. It is a 2-litre petrol Bongo. And this was converted before I bought the van, so it came with the conversion already on there. So for me it was a no-brainer. So I mean, it's just been absolutely brilliant, can't fault it. But we're going to dive into what is LPG. For a start, what does it even stand for? So LPG stands for liquefied petroleum gas. Now LPG is a natural byproduct of the gas and oil extraction, and they realised they could liquefy this and turn this into a fuel, so it's used as all sorts of different fuels. It can also save you significant amount of money over the cost of petrol or diesel. It has the lowest carbon footprint of any off-grid fossil fuel, and also has up to 80% less pollutants than either petrol or diesel. So it's actually a pretty cool fuel, to be quite honest with you. As I said, my Bongo is a 2-litre petrol. All the stuff came on it, so I was pretty ready to go. So for me it was a no-brainer. I was looking for a vehicle with LPG on it, lucky enough to find one with it, and yeah, so I've got no complaints about it. Obviously saving nearly 50% of the fuel money and being cleaner for the environment, it's an absolute win-win for me. But you might not be in that situation, and you might be looking to buy an LPG system brand new for your Bongo, your car or your van, and you need to know if it's viable. Is that investment going to pay back? So later on in the video we're going to actually look at the figures, and we're going to break down the kind of costs of LPG so you can have a good understanding of whether a system would be good for you. Like I said, for me green fuel is great, but the main thing is obviously saving a lot of money on the cost of petrol. But there are some other considerations to think about. And one of the things you've got to kind of bear in mind with LPG is that it's not as easy to find as petrol. Unfortunately, Shell have decided to remove LPG from their stations, and I think this was due to a dispute with Autogas, I believe. So it is definitely available out there. I can usually find it wherever I go, and that's not even from Shell stations, it's usually from different garages. So that is one consideration. You have to be able to find garages or places to buy your fuel. There is a great website, and I believe it has an app as well, called Fill LPG. So their website is filllpg.co.uk, and I tend to use this one when planning a journey, or you get the app and you can find out where it is. Normally you can type into Google as well, that usually tells you where the LPG stations are. But that's a really useful resource, so you can see what's nearby to you, because having a local LPG centre is going to be quite invaluable really, so you're not driving too far. Now you do actually still need to fill up with petrol, so that is something else you'll have to think about, because it doesn't start immediately on LPG, because it has to warm up the engine before it switches. So you'll need to have an amount of petrol, which isn't a bad thing. It's I found it quite useful when I've been going abroad and actually have quite a good stock of petrol in the van. Fill it with LPG, you can actually go quite far with. If you fill up both, you can go 600 or 700 miles. But yeah, so those are some of the considerations. So for me, I'm lucky, I've got a local farmer that actually sells LPG, which is where I am. Oh, hang on, right now. So I'm going to show you the filling up process. So here I am, and someone's already there, that's quite rude. But yeah, I'm going to show you how you actually fill it with LPG, so let's take a look at that. So first things first, take off the filler cap, ignore the big sludgy thing there just dripping away. So you connect the nozzle up by just turning it clockwise, which will kind of attach into that. You've got to give it a bit of a wiggle, and then it clamps on. You pull the first lever, and then there's usually a second little lever that kind of keeps it locked in place. And then it takes forever to actually fill up. Depends on which pump it is. And then it's just a release of gas. As you saw there, a puff of the gas there. Just got to be careful with that, make sure you don't burn yourself on that. So whilst we're on the subject of filling up, if you're intending to travel to the EU, you will need to buy some EU travel adapters. These are pretty cheap to buy. You buy a set of them. I bought mine from lpgshop.co.uk, as you can see here, and they're really easy to use. I only use the one on the right there, which is the French one. Very simple to use. You just screw it into the LPG port, as you can see here, and the hose will just connect straight up to the end there. They've got a far better system in France than we do in the UK, and yeah, so highly recommend getting some of those. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So I'm happy. I filled up and I've saved obviously 50% of my fuel costs, so that's me out of here. So let's see where the installation actually is. So let's see where all the equipment goes. First off, the fuel tank. As you can see, I've got a fuel tank where my spare wheel used to be. So this is a donut tank and it holds about 50 litres. So that gives me roughly 320 kilometres on like normal driving, but up to about 400 on longer journeys. So it's pretty decent. I think that's a good compromise there. You find the fuel tanks of all different shapes, so they can sort of go anywhere, and then all that gets routed then to the front of the vehicle where the engine bay is under the passenger seat. And as you can see here, I've got the electrical system here, and also there's that little blue lid on the side there, and that's for my valve saver fluid, so that just helps things there. Got the switch to switch the LPG. That's just you leave that on automatic, and that's all you need to do there. So we're going to look into the figures now, and I've got this little spreadsheet kind of set up ready for this. As you can see, LPG versus petrol. It's quite simple. All I've got on here is I'm going to put in the amount of miles I do per year, the miles per gallon that the van does. So I've kind of gone with an average-ish. We're kind of playing about here, wishful thinking and all that. So 30 miles to the gallon I've gone with. It doesn't actually matter too much about this one. And then that's going to figure out how many gallons and litres it takes to cover the miles per year. And then at the bottom here, I put in the cost per litre at the pump. At the moment, it's about £1.19. The price that I paid when I filled up was 65 pence for LPG. And then it'll plot out, roughly what it's all going to cost. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this column here, roughly 7,000 miles per year, and this should give us, boom, the figures. So as you can see from this chart on the right, petrol, the cost is £1,260 per year, and LPG is 688. So over here, that gives us a saving of £572. So this is kind of like obviously all very rough figures, but it can give you a pretty good readout, to be honest with you. So I would be looking at sort of saving £500 to £600 a year. That's if I did 7,000 miles. If I did more, I'd be saving more. If I did less, you save less. So if your install costs £1,500, it's going to take you roughly 3 years to pay it back. After that, you're going to be making money to the tune of £500 to £600 a year. Obviously, if you do 10,000 to 15,000, that's going to be significantly different in terms of the time to pay it back. So it could take you 2 years or less, which is brilliant. I mean, depends how long you're thinking of keeping the van. So using this kind of spreadsheet kind of gives you a really good idea of whether it's going to be suitable for you to put it in, whether the resale value is good enough as well, whether that's like an added benefit if you sell the vehicle. I don't know. That's going to be only for you to decide. So just having a look at those figures, for me, I mean, obviously it was put in, so I'm saving straight off the bat, that kind of money every year. I do about 7,000 miles, so about £500 to £600 a year saving in petrol costs, so that is amazing. Yeah, so hopefully that gives you some kind of indication whether this is worth it or not. Hopefully the video has been interesting and you've kind of got some information from it. Make your own spreadsheet, see what you get out of yours, yeah, I think for me, LPG, is it worth it? Answer, yes. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next video.